The question is, even not a kip, when a child does not behave the way that you would like them to behave, how do you change that? Question of the year, question of the decade. How do you control your children? They're humans, they have a brain, and they will behave in ways that you're not happy with. What are you supposed to do? And we're not talking about a 5-year-old that doesn't want to take a bath. Right? We're talking about over a certain age where they're going to control themselves. You could say they have bechira, they have freedom of choice, or whatever. What are you supposed to do? And it's like we can gather all the parents in the world, and it's like, what, you never thought of this question? We all had children, we all expected all of our children are just going to behave exactly the way that we are. The women are going to look and behave like mommy. The men are going to look and behave like daddy. Nobody's going to be less from. Nobody's going to be crazy from. Everybody's going to be normal. And they're all going to like what we like. And they're going to talk about the way we talk. And if we listen to English music, they'll listen to English music. And if we went to yeshiva, they'll went to yeshiva. But they won't listen to that kind and only what we like and only our kinds of fruits and vegetables. And if we don't like, meat, they won't like meat. And if we believe in everything, they're like little mini me. What happens when your child is not like that? It's disappointing. So you have a certain amount of years until you pass away from this world to influence your children. Influence is the greatest power that you have. It's more powerful than anything else. Reb Shamshon Raphael Hirsch says, when you try to control your children, now let's understand what this means, okay? We have them since they're born. So we've been feeding them information, and we've been putting them in the yeshiva. We're paying the schar limud, the tuition. We've been giving them information, and that failed, or a little bit, or a lot, or even a little bit, failed for this thing. So now we're going to control them. So the control part is the part that we failed to get them to want to be like us. Now we're going to use a power tool to push them to be like us and to pull them, to zwing, to pressure them. That means that, let's say a child is not davening properly. So since they're born, we daven properly. We set a great example. We did everything we're supposed to do. We sent them to yeshiva. They learned how to daven. We put in thousands of hours. The kid's not interested in davening. So now we think we take out the power. All the stuff that parents do. And that's going to make them now, in other words, their brain doesn't get it. So now we're going to push their brain to behave externally the way that we want. And they're going to then like what we like and become what all the training and all of the family values couldn't be imbued in them is going to happen because I give them the eyes and the disgust and all of that. That's going to work. I mean, growing up in your house didn't work. Going to yeshiva in your environment didn't work. Going to shul and shtibel and whatever didn't work. But now we're going to criticize them and look down. You can't dress like that. How come you're doing that? Why are you doing that? That's parenting, says Reb Shamshon Raphael Hirsch. When you treat your children with kavod and yedidus, when you treat them in the way that they feel your love, then you will influence them when they're in front of you, but even when they're not in front of you. When you go with strength, you may be able to change the way they behave while they're in front of you. Maybe. Okay, I'll put on a hat. Okay, I'll put on a dress. Okay, fine, okay. We're not kips, even regular kids. Maybe you can have a great chinuch moment where you say, excuse me, we don't do that here, and the kid listens to you. Says Reb Shamshon Raphael Hirsch, but that's only going to be in front of you. But when you have the power of influence, when you are in their nafshei kshur b'nafshei, they know and they feel your intense love for them, you will influence them to behave the way you want when you're there, when you're not there. When they're in front of you, when they're not in front of you. When you're separated, listen to his words, by space, they're in a different country, and even if you're separated between life and death. when they're going to have dumus yuknoi shel avi, they're going to think of their father who passed away, their mother who passed away. Is that going to motivate them and you're going to still influence them? Depends on your relationship. You burn the relationship, you lose the most powerful weapon you ever had. So what is parenting? People say, can't I parent my child? So sure, please go ahead. What do you consider parenting? Telling him what he's doing is wrong. I call that criticism. Criticism is parenting? Definitely. Punishing. All these things, that's parenting. You have a normal kid, and it doesn't lose the relationship, and you do it without anger, and you follow the true chinuch, real way of any chinuch book, any real true chinuch, fine. But if you burn the relationship, you lower it even from 90 to 80, that has long-term ramifications. Nothing is more powerful than influence. And influence is based on the level of your nafshik shur b'nafshe, your connection. Take the kid out, have fun, spend time with him. But we have parents that aren't parents at all. They don't see the kid, they're only there to say, no, no, no. They're only there to criticize. They don't spend time with their kid. They don't give them this feeling out of their eyes of, I love you. They don't say, I'm proud. If you don't tell your kid, I am proud to be your father. I am proud to be your mother. You have no right to criticize. You have no right. You didn't start. You're just a stranger that's just beating them over the head. You have to say, I am proud of you. And build them up on the inside. And then when you go ahead and you have an opinion, they're going to say, oh, that's interesting. I want to accept your opinion. You know what real parenting is? Is working on your kids, on the relationship, to the point that when they're not sure how to behave, they will ask you, Ma, what do you think I should wear to the wedding? Dad, what do you think I should wear to the wedding? That's parenting. You have years to build that relationship that you're the one that they go to. And they don't think you have a different agenda, and they don't think you wish you had different children, and they don't think you're not proud of them. They can rely on you. They trust you. That's parenting. I have parents. I have a mother and father that love me, and that they're going to come to you, and they're going to say, what do you think I should do? And even then, we'll talk about what to answer. But that's what parenting is. Parenting is proving to your children, this is not American. This is very Jewish. This is very Jewish. It's being so loving to your children that there's no better person in the entire world that they have trust in than mom and dad. To burn that over a temporary criticism is just such a waste. Such a waste. And we really, really know that. Because if you, let's say, are in business, and you're going to get a loan from a bank, and you need that banker to like you, you're not going to blow that by criticizing his tie or say, that's the way you're going to come to work. You're not going to criticize him. You see, you look beautiful. You're amazing. You're going to get them that whatever they like. You know how to be nice to people who you need. If you're a fundraiser for a yeshiva, or whatever it is, you know how to be nice to people. You don't have to go to Dale Carnegie to know how to win friends you know, and influence people. You know how to be nice to people that you need. You need your children for their sake and for your sake. You need them to know that you believe in them and that you like them. So yeah, if you have a bunch of kids, some are going to act and dress differently than you would have liked. Some of them are going to have bad taste. Some of them are going to have too expensive taste. In our family, we don't. What does it mean? In our family? So I'm sorry, I like Gucci. I should go to a different family? In our family, we don't wear that. I mean, what does it even mean? They're not computer. It's not a program. They're actual people. They have actual brains. They have actual ratzon. And I just want to show you how Jewish this is. The Nesiva Shalom says that you have to treat children as humans the same as adults. They have feelings. We grew up, it didn't exist. Nesiva Shalom is authentic Torah Yiddishkeit. It's not American stuff. Authentic Torah Yiddishkeit says that there's no difference between a 40-year-old and a 3-year-old. You never make them feel bad. You never make them feel unwanted. He says, look how far it goes. You're not allowed to tell a child, say menacheder. Go out of the room. I see people talking to their kids that they like. They have a friend that comes over, or it's conversation they don't want them here. Go out of the room. What is that? What are you doing? That's not that one. Everybody, yeah. No, there's none of that. You don't do this hand motion to your child, to a human being. You don't do it to your boss. You don't do it to your child. Just because they're little and they can't fight back, it's not proper bakavadik, or respectful treatment of a human being. He says you're not allowed to say, leave the room. What are you supposed to say? Please go to the other room. And I'm like, wow, that's how sensitive we need to be? I'm like, yeah. If I go to somebody's office and they say, please go out of the room, that's not the same as, please go to the other room. So why do we think that a child doesn't have feelings? And when I read that, I'm like, that's how sensitive we need to be. Yeah, and once a month or once in 2 months, you need to punish, you need to criticize. That's also part of it. But that's not it. It is covered, yedidus, treating them like a mensch, smiling, shining your light at them, showing them I'm proud of you, giving them self-esteem, giving them a feeling that I have value. That's what parenting is. I'm on your side. As soon as they struggle, we stop the whole program. We pull out the respirator, take out the life support. Now I treat you like a piece of garbage because you struggled or I don't think you behaved properly. No, everything continues, and I could still deal in a bakavadik, a nice way with the issue. With the issue, I'll tell you a story. It's a true story. All my stories are true. My son, who's a wonderful kid, he's in shidduchim, and this will not stop his shidduch. He's a great kid. He called me, the principal called me one day during English and said, your son did something wrong, I have to send him home. He put him on the phone, and he was really emotional, crying, whatever. So I realized, I guess he was really wrong. So I said, okay, send him home. My house was 2 or 3 blocks away from yeshiva. I'm going to go home. I took off from my office. I went home. Okay, now, I walked in, and he's all down and out. I walked in with a big smile, and I looked at him. I said, can I get a hug? Broke the ice. Okay, I'm not part of your problem. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you through it. You don't need to be part of the problem. Where does it come from? Parenthetically, the Torah. After the ego, where we did the biggest averis, 3 big ones, even worse than those that we discussed before. 3 huge averis, avodah zarah, gila arayis, and shvichas dam, and we killed. We did all kinds of bad stuff. Moshe Rabbeinu moves away from the machna. He calls Moshe's movers. He picks up his tent. He says, I'm not staying with you guys anymore. I'm out of here. We would say, very good. Hashem says, no. Bishav el hamachna. Go back to the machna. Why? Rashi says from the Medrash, Hashem tells Moshe, Ani bakas, va'ata bakas, imkein mi yakarvam. I'm angry with them, and now you're going to be angry at them, so who's going to be makar of them? Like, God's saying, like, thank you, Moshe, thanks for taking my side. I can handle myself. They've got beef with me already. You're taking my side? Who's going to help them? So back to the story. My son had a problem with the school. Now he needs to have a problem with his father? Who's going to help him? So big smile. I walked in. I'm like, teenager, right? I'm like, can I get a big hug? Gives me a big hug. I'm like, okay, what'd you do? And I'm smiling. What'd you do? No anger, no frustration. It does not surprise me or bother me that a child or an adult does something wrong. We always get so shocked. Like, what? I have a friend of mine, and he was lacing into his teenager, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, you're not 175,000 years old. I remember you as a teenager. You were worse. Who ever heard of such a thing? I'm like, oh. I remember when you didn't take a haircut, you look like that. I remember your hair, you had longer hair, chutzpah, the whole thing. Like, we forget what it's like. No, we expect people to make mistakes. That's part of the plan. So I said, what'd you do? He called his teacher a retard. So I told him, I said, how many times do we need to go over this? If you call your teacher a retard, he's not supposed to hear you. You're all laughing? He laughed. I saw the relief on his face. Now, I didn't do all of this to let him off the hook. Wait for the ending, okay? He was relieved. He's laughing. He's like, yeah, I know, and whatever. I'm like, he goes, but he is, but it's true, and he shouldn't. I said, I didn't say whether he is or he isn't. I just said, he's not supposed to hear you say that, right? Okay. I said, so what are we going to do about it? I don't know. What should we do about it? Now, how many times I've waited for my kids to ask me, what should I do about it? I even sometimes, because I try not to give any advice, as you know, to my kids ever, but sometimes if they're like in a situation and I really want to, sometimes I will say the following: do you want to ask me advice? And many times they'll say no. And sometimes they'll say yeah, because like they forgot to ask. Like sometimes they'll just be telling me about I don't know what to do, whatever. And everybody just jumps in. Don't jump in. Ask permission. Say, maybe, like, do you want to ask me advice? Oh, yeah. I'd love to know what you think. Okay? I'd love to know what you think. Okay. You'd love to know what I think. Very nice. Now we can talk. Right? And we'll talk about that a different time. I still don't like to give advice. I've tried very much not to. Fine. So I said, what are you going to do about it? He's like, I don't know, whatever. Okay, I'll let things go by. I said, I went back to him like an hour later. I said, I think if it was me, I would write a letter. I'm so sorry, whatever. He goes, oh, that's a good idea. A few hours later, okay, because he was sent home early, so a few hours later, took a shower, calmed down, relaxed, came to me. This is what I wrote my teacher. He shared it with me, right? Dear retard, no. Dear Mr. Whatever, I'm so sorry for my behavior. You could expect better behavior from me in the future. Perfect. Perfect. I got him to write and feel on his own the exact maximum that we could have expected it. Without anger, without screaming, without yelling, without put downs, without insulting, nothing. I just boosted his nefesh and made it possible for him to think. And then he came up with the right answer that he knew all along. I believe that is parenting. What most people do is just cheap. Kids get punished. Again, you got punished, start insulting, and then the kid gets angry, and he's angry at you. What do you have to do with this? I asked Rav Steinman Zatzal. Rav Steinman, Gadol Adar of the previous generation. I asked him, I have a video, actually recorded, because I didn't have video. I said, if the child is mechalel Shabbos, breaking Shabbos at home, should the parents get upset at the child? And his immediate reaction was, what's that going to accomplish? Then he's just going to hate Shabbos and hate the parents. You see, parenting doesn't mean my kid should hate me or be annoyed. Parenting is helping my child by being there with them and getting them to have clarity so they can be the best that they can be. Good luck.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.